Hello everybody. First, I'm just going to open up my Procreate app. I am using an iPad Pro 2nd generation and an Apple Pencil 1st generation and the Procreate app. I'm just adding my grid right now. Grid's not necessary. I just like it. Sometimes it actually depends on the day when I want to use a grid or not. But since with my Enneagram graphics, I like everything to be symmetrical for the most case, and it just helps me level things out a little bit better. So what I'm doing now is I'm using the 6B pencil brush, and this is a brush that comes with Procreate, and I'm using this to sketch it out. I love this brush so much. I haven't found a brush like it that mimics a pencil quite as well as this one does. For the most part, I do prefer to sketch things out, especially if I'm making like a calligraphy quote print or anything with a bunch of lettering. I like to use a pencil first just to make sure the placement's right. Even in some of my graphics, like with my affirmation graphics, I'll sketch some things out just to make sure placement looks good before I bring the color to it. Sometimes I do go freehand in and it works out fine, but some days I just want to be a little extra careful, take my time, and make sure everything looks well. Right now you can actually see I am looking for making sure that I'm not doing any typos, because once I start looking at words, especially while I'm drawing them, they start to look wonky to me and I second guess myself if they are actually spelt right. So that's what I'm doing typing over there. You're going to see that I'm going to make a typo here, but that's not until later on that you'll see. But it is fixed on the final print, so no worries. So let me talk about Procreate a little bit, just because I get a lot of questions about Procreate and what is it, if it comes with the iPad Pro, what's the deal? So it actually doesn't come with the iPad Pro. It is an app that you purchase. It's just a one-time purchase of $9.99, I believe, and then that's it. You get the app with all its amazing tools and abilities. There is a Procreate Pocket, and that is for your mobile device. So you can do somewhat of the same stuff on there, but there's just a world of difference when you're doing it on the iPad with Procreate. And I want to stress too that with brushes and all of that, you are going to want to probably just go ahead and get the Apple Pen, or the Apple Pencil, I should say, because with any other stylus, you're not going to get that pressure sensitivity like it does with the Apple Pencil. So when like I come in here and I use Luke and Ruth in a little bit, it's not going to change or give all the effects it would if you were just using a regular stylus. So that's the amazing thing about Procreate. It's perfect for the iPad Pro, perfect for the Apple Pencil. There's just so many cool things that I can't wait to explore more of with you guys. But definitely this is a software that I recommend for any beginner with iPad art or iPad lettering. It's just amazing, and it's literally right at your fingertips. So sometimes this can be the hardest part for me, filling up towards the end, just because I want to make sure I'm still putting good content on there and I'm not just rushing to fill it up. I do keep a journal with all my Enneagram types, with all the facts I find about them, their traits, their fears, all of that, so I can pull from that, and I want to give you guys the most genuine graphic I can, but also be educated about it as well. So here I'm going to put the layer under the sketching so that when I start to add color, I can still see the sketching on top, so I don't have to keep flipping layers on and off. I'm going to go and I'm going to pick my Luke brush, which is in my Etsy. It's a brush that I made. I use this brush for all of my portraits, most of my lettering. So for the portrait, I use Luke. I will change the brush for all the other parts of the graphic, but I'll tell you that when it gets there. As you see, I'm fixing to turn off it completely, the sketching, because it kind of starts messing me with the portrait. And with portraits, sometimes I don't need to use a sketch. I just do it. The sketching is basically just to get placement. And then when I start putting the facts in, that's when I'll keep the sketching on and I'll appreciate it being there. But for now, I'm just going to draw the portrait with my Luke brush. And when I'm done with that, I will switch to another brush. Here you're going to see I'm still using the Luke brush, and then I switch really quick to Ruth because that's what I love to use on this series. I love my Ruth brush. I'll leave that in the link below. Ruth is a monoline, so it doesn't change with pressure, but it's so unique. I don't know how else to explain it. It's creamy, it's slide rigid, it kind of looks like paint, but I just love Ruth so much. So I'll go in with Ruth, and this is how I add all of my details. I don't have the grid on, which I guess it depends on the day as well, because some days I don't really need the grid and some days I just wing it. So you don't have to be by the book, especially when it comes to your own art. That's something that I've been struggling with, especially I want to make sure people think I'm professional, when in the case I don't have to be. It's my art, and that's something that I love. I quickly realized that I don't use the helper on these. I use just the name of the type, so I add that really quickly. I get a lot of questions about my color palette and how I pick them. Most of the times I use my color palettes I've made, but for the Enneagram, since I want them all to be completely different from the last one, I really just pull colors at random. I have actually thought about making palettes for each one of the prints I've done with that color scheme. I've had some requests for it, and that's something that I've thought about doing, so that may be coming soon. But for the meantime, I just pull and play around with colors that I think look good, that go with my style, as well as is different enough from the last Enneagram print that I did. And yes, I'm aware you're gonna see me make a big old typo here coming up. I'm going to put themself rather than themselves. Not necessarily a typo, but not correct grammar, so refrain from the comments because it's fixed on the final graphic. So at this point, I'm really majorly playing around with colors and seeing what looks good in places, what balances it out, and that's something, unfortunately, I know it sounds cliche, it can't be taught. You just have to really play around and get inspired and make something that makes your heart happy. Play around with the colors you like. I know a lot of people think that they need to be with the trend, the color schemes. When I joined Instagram in 2015, the color scheme was bright, airy, and now it's starting to be the deeper colors that I use. But I want you to do what makes you happy. And if a bright and airy feed makes you happy, do it. If a moody feed makes you happy, if a monochrome black and white feed makes you happy, do it, because you got to make yourself happy. And when you do something that you truly love and show your work through it, you will genuinely get authentic people following you that genuinely love you for who you are, for being authentic. Not to go on a little rant about it, but I think it's just so important, and I think it's more important to show grace when there's new artists out there, because I remember being there, and we all just want to have our own style. We want it so much, and I promise, as cliche as it sounds, it will come. Just play around. Don't take yourself too seriously, and you will find what you like, and you'll genuinely fall in love with it. So I'm just going to talk about Ruth here for another minute because I just love it so much. Ruth is one of the first Procreate brushes I made, and it's one I still use to this day. Luke, which I use for my portrait, and Ruth are my two most used brushes. You can't really see through here, but if you go and look at my Enneagram prints, or the Miniagram series specifically, you will see how unique Ruth is. It has these tiny brush strokes in it. It's very creamy, mimics paint. I just love it so much. Ruth is probably going to be a staple of mine, and I'm actually working on a brush that mimics Ruth but has a little twist, so I'm excited. So kind of like a Ruth 2.0. But yes, I get asked all the time, what are the 2 brushes I would give to somebody, or 3 brushes? Let's do 3. For somebody starting out, it would definitely be Luke, because it's perfect for lettering portraits. Ruth, because it gives you just enough difference, but it's also beautiful at once, so it's not too different. And then probably for the third, I would do Barley, because Barley is a beautiful lettering brush that has such the slightest ridginess and edginess to it that I just love, and the flow on it is beautiful. So I think those all three are perfect for just starting out. Grace is another one if you want to play with monoline lettering, but Ruth, Barley, and Luke are probably my top three if I had to pick. You can see here I kind of move up the sketching a little bit, the opacity, just so I can see it better when I'm writing, because I want to make sure that I don't misspell anything. And I probably have on here somewhere that somebody will point out, but hopefully not. So I'm just sitting here, I'm picking letter. I could do all the same colors here, but since I'm trying to change it up a little bit, make sure it flows right, I'm going to play around with the colors and make sure I pick pretty colors, different colors, so it's not all blah. So here I'm just going to add up the last minute things. These are the last two graphics I'm going to have to finish up, and then we will be finished. I just want to thank you guys for hanging out with me and listening to this. I hope this was helpful. I want to do more videos like this and maybe ask you questions before of stuff you'll want to know, so I can just talk to you while I do time lapses. And then hopefully soon I will be doing some real life videos for you as well in real time. So I just want to thank you for hanging out. I'm just going to add the last details here. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll try to get them to you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I'm going to try to get more videos up here soon. I'm going to leave everything you need in the links below that I talked about, including my brushes and my Etsy and where you can find me at. So I just want to thank you for hanging out. I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you come back for more because I love having you. Bye.